talk to us about masculinity and what would you like the modern male to know based on your vast education, vast experience, just where you're at in your life. What would you like men to know? And then what would you like women to know? And again, speaking as someone who's in a conscious relationship that works pretty well and has a lot of things lined up.
Since it's an archetypal expression, it will constantly evolve with you. And so there is no painting of what an archetypal man looks like. There is archetypal masculine man. I think if what people have in their mind is like an alpha bro, beard, muscles, lumberjack, axe, like does heroic things, like, but that's not necessarily what a masculine man will do. A masculine looks like keeping up with a commitment, saying what you're doing, showing up, taking care of yourself. I still think being a beast is very masculine. I enjoy being very, very strong and keeping up with strength and being acrobatic and all those things. But at the same time, I don't allow that to be the only expression of masculinity that I find to be true to me. And I think it permeates on so many subtle levels, like being able to stand in a fire while, in my case, Sarah
metaphorically,
while she unloads on me and tears my psyche apart and tells me the truth about what's happening, and it's hard to swallow. And and also then at the same time being able to handle that and not use basically my one form of self-defense, which is physicality. So being able to be in full control of my power without using that to then defend myself over something that I could be insecure about. That is a masculine trait. A following through with a commitment that you made is a masculine trait. I think, and I feel that showing up is a very masculine trait for men. Sticking, because it keeps moving, and it'll always keep moving, and it's a very destructive force. It'll break you down, and when you're standing in that fire, if you allow the fire of masculinity to burn everything to the ground, what's left is supposed to be there. And if you're willing to stand in that, assuming you're aligned with your purpose, your heart, your soul, and you allow it to break you down, like when I was taking my master level practitioner course, and I remember hearing the stories from other people in that course of them going, "Hey, are you okay, Aleks?" I mean, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why? What's going on?" And they would tell me it was uncomfortable for us to watch Paul go in on you like that. I go, "But that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because no one else can be that accurate and that loving and that to the point and save me years of struggling. Why would I pay thousands of dollars to be here if that's not what I was looking for?"
Mm-hmm.
And then, still it was if you saw what was happening, it was
Heavy.
hard for people. It was heavy.
Hmm.
But that's the point. You burn away things that don't serve you anymore. And whatever you're asked for out of life at that moment, you don't have to carry all the things. But I also subscribe to enjoying being the warrior in the garden instead of the gardener in the war. So you're still preparing for all of these things. You're still upkeeping, preparing. And, if I drop the ball on things, and trust me, when I do, Sarah reminds me of it, and the kids remind me of it. And I'm not always perfect, and I get it wrong a lot. And I get blindsided by things. I'm like, I didn't expect this to happen. What's happening? Let me piece my environment together. But it's being able to go back to that moment and be better each time, and be better each time, and be better each time. It's like, when you cut a piece of wood and you grind it with a grinder, you don't get the finished product. Then you put oil on it. Then you put, I'm not a carpenter, so I don't know what all the finishes are. Then the rubs and the finishes and the stains and all those things. And then it becomes this really polished piece of wood, or a crystal looks like kind of like a dusty piece of garbage until you,
a rock.
Until you cut it and polish it and refine it and buff it. And then you're like, wow, this thing is pretty. Like, I want to put that right there. And that's what shows up in crystal shops, not the, the cloudy junk you find in the earth. And what we're used to seeing, like almost the pornographic version of these crystals in the shops, where they're fully done up and made up and like, oh, look, we're clear and see-through. So, but it's showing up for each one of those moments and getting more consistent with each time you show up, as to not fail everyone in life. That's why you're around, to hold everyone up and together and be there. And sometimes it's not holding them up. Sometimes it's being there. Sometimes it's holding them up. Sometimes it's dropping what you really want to do and go helping them out and being in service to your family. And that's what the masculine does. And I've skipped all the things that are the obvious, the displays of power and aggression, because people are oversaturated that market with having those talks. But it's a constant evolution of that energy, and it's God's thoughts in the form of the masculine trying to express itself. And if you look out into my yard, you have the feminine, and the feminine has different flowers. It's not one type of tree everywhere. There's so many different arrays of expressions of the feminine and the masculine in the yard. And if you look at fire ants, they're probably very masculine because they will eat you alive. And then you have very beautiful flowers and animals, and nature is so vastly different, with still containing that masculine and feminine expression. So if you can reflect on how you need to show up in your life versus how some other person shows up in their life, that's what I have really paid attention to in my life. Because if I showed up like I was living at someone else's life, that may not create harmony here.